Hi, and welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty, and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting up. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the unceded land where this conversation takes place, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Sam Field is head chef at Molly Rose Brewing in Collingwood, but his way into kitchen started much earlier as a 13-year-old kitchen porter in England, working after school and learning by watching. Since then, he's cooked in pubs, fine dining venues, cafés, and now one of Melbourne's more interesting brewery kitchens, where the menu leans European by way of local produce and very drinkable beer. Sam is thoughtful about kitchens, about the culture inside them as much as the food that comes out. He still carries the discipline of fine dining, even if these days it shows up in something as deceptively simple as a very well-considered schnitzel. Hi Sam, welcome to Conversation with a Chef. So we're sitting upstairs in a really nice quiet room at Molly Rose Brewing, and it's in Collingwood, which is a great place to be. Downstairs is beautiful and that's all been refurbished, and so I just wanted to hear a little bit more about you and the food and what it's like at Molly Rose. So let's start with you first, Sam. So I read that you grew up in Chichester in England.
Yeah, I grew up actually originally in Newcastle.
Oh, okay.
My father was in the army, so we used to move around all the time. We settled in the south when I was about 14 in Chichester. I'd already had a bit of like a love for food at that point. Moving around a lot was amazing because we used to meet lots of different people. And in the army community, you all sort of come together and eat. So food was always like a part of my life in that sense. You know, the dads would all go away and all the kids would go around the neighbour's house and just eat whatever was being made. Army camps tend to be very multicultural, so you'd have Fijian food, a lot of Nepalese food from the Gurkhas. So it's just all these amazing cuisines coming together. And then when I sort of moved down south to become an adult, if you like, coming into the teenage years, it was time for me to work, and it was just natural, really, just straight into a kitchen and never look back, I guess is the way to put that.
Yeah. I mean, there's something a little bit different to enjoying food and eating different cuisines and stepping into the kitchen. What was it about hospitality that drew you in?
I think, if I'm completely honest, with the age I was, it was kind of the only job I could really get into.
Okay.
But
how old were you?
When I first started working as a kitchen porter, I was 13.
Wow.
It's just I needed to do it for, wanted money to go with friends, buy a car or motorbike at that point in life.
Were you still at school though? Or
I used to finish school at 3 and then I'd start my kitchen porter job at 6.
Yeah.
And I did that 5 nights a week after school. It kept me out of the riffraff. It was good fun. And then when school finished, it was kind of a natural progression. I'd already fallen in love with, the maturity of kitchens.
Yeah, right.
You have to grow up very quick, especially at that age if you're joining a kitchen with experienced chefs. Know your place, and if you don't learn, you fail. So it became an obsession, I guess, to just get better and better and better. And then it just led me to great places. I was very lucky.
So did you start work in a pub? Was that what I saw?
My first sort of job as a kitchen porter was in a pub.
Yeah.
And one day, probably been there for about just under a year, one of the 3 chefs had called in sick, and it was a really busy night, and I had just been watching for the whole time I was there. And they said, "Oh, do you want to have a go on larder? We can show you." But I'd already known it all because I'd been watching for so long, and they were quite impressed. So they were like, "You can just keep his job." And then that was my promotion from kitchen porter to commis chef, which was good.
And were there moments where you felt nervous about, making mistakes, or how would you get your head around certain things, or did it all just come quite naturally to you?
50-50. I mean, even today I still get nervous about making mistakes because you just want to make everything as perfect as possible. One thing you learn quickly is there's no such thing as perfect, but you still end up pushing for it.
Yeah.
I think I'm confident in some things, but even then I still get nervous because at the end of the day I just want to do it 1% better than I did it last time. And I think without putting that pressure, you don't ever get any better. So I never want to try and be too cocky when it comes to food. That's something that a lot of chefs are really good at, is being overly cocky with food.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I learn personally if I act like that. I have to kind of just try and absorb and be a sponge and see what other people are doing. That's what excites me as well.
So did you do any formal training, or was it all through that observation and on the job?
Yeah, so I left school when I was 16.
Yeah.
And in the UK, you've got two options really. You stay in school till you're 18, or you go and do a trade.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to go to a 2 Rosette restaurant, equivalent of Hats, as a commie in just outside of Chichester in like a fine dining-esque hotel. And I did that for basically my whole 16 to 18. And that was great. I worked full-time, and one day a week I'd go into college and sign a bit of paper. And for me, that was so much better than sitting in the classroom. I never learned in classrooms. I famously did really bad in school. But like, I can learn so much quicker with hands-on. Pick it up, like I said, like a sponge. If I can see it being done, I just want to do it.
And what's it like for you, that difference between fine dining and a more casual setting? Do you have a preference, or?
It's tough. I love fine dining. It's everything. Like, if I could do it now, I would. It just takes up so much time of your life.
Yeah.
I'm like getting older now, getting married, so I need to start thinking about those sort of things. Doing 60, 70 hours a week till 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, only serving 20 guests. It's just not sustainable for me anymore. I miss it. It's a different form of self-torture, is fine dining. That's where like the strive for perfection came from for me as well, I think. I do miss it, but at the same time, I love the pub scene because you can interact with the customers more. It's so much laid back, you know, you're kind of enjoying yourself whilst you're working as opposed to just pushing 100% of the time. And it's also nice because you can forgive yourself for making mistakes in a more laid back scene. In fine dining, there's no error for it. No, what am I trying to say? No
room for
error.
Yeah.
So that's it took me a while to adjust to that as well. When I first sort of came back from fine dining and went to pubs, I was a horrible chef, very angry, because things weren't the way I wanted them to be. And it took someone else to say, look, you're not in that situation anymore. You don't need to be striving for complete perfection. You can relax.
Yeah.
And when I did, I actually found myself become a better chef.
Yeah.
Because you allow yourself to sort of do things differently and observe things.
So do you think you hold yourself with there's obviously a lot more tension in those fine dining restaurants? It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's such beautiful food and obviously really beautiful surrounds, and you've got all these tense people out in the kitchen not wanting to make mistakes.
I think it also really, really matters on who's running that kitchen. I've worked for some chefs. I worked for a chef called Jake Watkins, who was renowned in the UK for having a Michelin star for the longest time. Horrible person to work for, but I learned more in those 2 years working for him than I did in 5 years in other places. Yeah. Some people will tell you that aggression in fine dining is a good thing. Some will tell you it's a bad thing. They're just trying to push you and make you as good as possible. But a lot of people can't take it. And I, at one point, was one of those people. I had to go and do something else for a bit because it's just, it's just self-torture. Self-torture in the strive of perfection.
Yeah.
So it's such a tough argument. Well, I think we're lucky today in hospitality; it doesn't happen as much.
Yes.
But I also do think that you see a dropping standards as well because of it. So again, it's like it's a tough line to draw. I think some chefs get it really good where they have that sort of strictness, but they're also super fair, and they're the kitchens that are doing super well at the moment. So there is a line. You do need a bit of it in fine dining to keep it's discipline at the end of the day, keeping people in line. But some people take it too far.
Yeah.
And we've seen countless evidence of that in some kitchens in the past, and they always end up failing because no one wants to work there. That's inevitably what happened with JSW.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and very recently, Noma and Renee Redzepi. I mean, that's huge for that to all come out now, and it's disappointing and really sad.
Yeah.
I always think, hospitality, it's about good times and making people happy and all of those things, and it is astounding to think that could be going on in the kitchen. then is the aim to make people happy? Or I actually read a really interesting Instagram post recently about someone talking about the business behind setting up a restaurant, and the first rule is you should be doing it for the people you're serving, not for yourself. And I guess it must be hard when ego gets in the way, that obviously big names want to keep their big name and there's a lot of pressure. But it should never be to that extent, obviously. Yeah. And are there any things that you bring through from fine dining, maybe techniques or concepts or I don't know, ways of seeing things? Ways of seeing things that you can bring into even the kitchen here? Are there things you use here?
For sure. I think within fine dining you learn a lot of techniques that are maybe, I guess if you're used to the pub scene, you might look at that and go, that's an unnecessary step. You know, we have like a slang saying in the kitchen, like the cowboy method. It's like the easiest way to do something. With fine dining, it's like you do steps just because you have to, not because it actually means anything. And I feel, for me, I kind of still keep those steps because I think it's important to do things correctly, not necessarily easily. For example, we just spent the last 3 days in the kitchen changing the weight on the herbs that go into the brine for the chicken schnitzel by 10 grams, doing them 4 different times, just because we want it to be as good as possible. And that's a very sort of old school classic mentality. But in 6 months' time, when you're happy with the way it is and it's still just as good as it was the first time you did it, then you know why you've done that, as opposed to it's okay, it will be fine. I want it to be the best I can do and then stay the best I can do.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very old school sort of fine dining way of looking at things. I think it's good to hold on to a little bit of that. Mainly for me, it's a bit of pride, because it's like, you're not just eating my food, you're paying for it, right? And we all know the hospitality trade is dying, just crashing a lot recently. People don't want to spend as much money, and I want, when you do spend your money, I want it to be a little bit better than either what you would make at home or what you get at the local pub. Just want it to stand out a little bit, that's all. And I think bringing in those sort of old school techniques and just keeping things classic in terms of technique, you kind of differentiate that and get that still.
Yeah. And what brought you to Australia?
I was 20 and I'd been working in JSW for 2 years and kind of just run down, I guess. Got bored of the rain and the cold. And I woke up one day, I had a bit of extra money in my bank account, and I looked at flights for Australia. Oh, they're cheap. I'll buy one way. I'll come back in 2 weeks' time. And now it's 7 years later. So I don't think I'm going back anytime soon.
Yeah. Was it a culture shock when you arrived?
Less than I thought it would be.
Okay.
My first time ever outside of Europe. So I was kind of like, oh, it's going to be so different. And then I went to Brisbane first, and walking down parts of Brisbane, and I wouldn't have known if I was in Spain, England, or Australia at that point. But then you go to other sides of it, and it's completely different. I loved that. And the food culture here, with the Asian influences, the European influences, incredible. It was just blew me away. Even when I go back to the UK, I'm always underwhelmed. And I just can't wait to get back to Australia now.
Oh, wow.
It's like, it's the best.
Very good, very good. And is this your first head chef role?
In a pub, yeah. I did a cafe.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it, but it was just too slow for me.
Yeah.
I was finding myself sort of dragging my feet a lot. It was just almost boring, I guess. And the pubs I'm enjoying a lot more. It's a lot busier, got a nice small team that I can trust, and just bang out nice food all day.
Yeah.
There's nothing to not like about that from my point of view. Yeah.
And when did you join Molly Rose?
Beginning of December. It's
Okay.
a bit of a strange time to join a kitchen.
Yeah.
But I seemed to fit in pretty well, and we got through the busy period, which was probably good for me, just to see the busy period. And now we're just focusing on new menus and trying to adapt and match to our beers as best as possible.
Yeah, no, I want to ask about that, because I feel like matching to beers must be different to matching to wines. Where do you start?
I guess with wine, depending on the restaurant, I'm looking more at like banging individual flavours to that wine. I want a certain flavour to pop to match with that wine. With beer, it's actually like you can have like a wider range of flavours on a dish, and the beer will still cut through it really nicely, and more complement it. Where with a wine, you want it to like match perfectly. With a beer, I want it to drink well. I guess the biggest difference as well is with a wine, you've got a small glass. With a beer, you've normally got a pint. So you don't want it to be too overwhelming that every time like it's too much. It needs to drink and eat really, really nicely together. I'm actually really enjoying matching beer to wine, especially here where we have 8 or 9 different types of beer, and it changes every week. With, normally traditionally you go red meat, red, very simple. With beer, we're doing like lemon beers with beef and just kind of altering the flavours, maybe putting a little bit of lemon myrtle on there to cut it. But I can also do stouts with fish. There's so many really good flavour combinations with beer, and it makes it really exciting in the kitchen.
And I feel like Nick, the founder, he seems to have some quite visionary beers the flavours and the way that he brews them. So that must be really exciting as well to work with.
Yeah, it's always fun when he brings me the new batches, and we play a game where I'm trying to test what they are, and it could be anything with Nick. He brews crazy flavours. At the moment, we've got a jalapeno radler on, which is, again, that goes really well with the fish dish. So that's really fun. But you never know what you're going to get with Nick. It changes every week.
That's amazing. And how many different beers are there possible? How many on at one time?
At the moment, I believe we've got 7 on at the moment. That goes up and down depending on quite a lot of things. How much time Nick's got to brew. Normally, on an average day, we've got 7. But then we've also got all of our canned range. So there can be another 7 there.
Okay.
And we're very lucky that the team all love beer, so they can tell you where that hop came from, how long ago it was brewed, why it was brewed, what flavours have gone into that, which is great from the chef's point of view. Because if I need to know something about a beer, I've got all that knowledge right there. I'm more of a drinker than a knowledger when it comes to beer. So it's great to have those guys there to be like, right, this flavour pops here, this flavour pops here. One thing I found not strange but pleasant about working here is it's a very team-based thing. So before any dishes even go to the owner, all the staff want to taste it with beers and help me match it and get involved, which is great from a chef's point of view because you just get so much feedback. And we've got lots of different people, therefore there's lots of different opinions, which is so good when it comes to writing a menu.
Yeah, and the description is European beer hall through a Melbourne lens. What does that mean for you?
So when I first came on my first day, I was drinking one of the wheat beers, and we were running like a Southeast Asian menu at the time. And it was just, we opened up the hall, like you said, with the renovations, and it kind of changed the space completely. And it went from being this like quite quiet, close, like restaurant feel to this really open, beers flowing, and when that tank is brewing beer and you get that smell of beer wafting through the restaurant, for me, all I wanted to do was have a schnitzel or a bratwurst or a beerwurst. So we sort of thought, playing with the idea of sort of European beer hall. So we're using basically as much Victorian products as possible. I'd say the menu's like 98% Australian, probably 60% Victorian. So it's super local, but then we're doing a lot of sort of German, Spanish and English influenced food. Got our sauerkraut on there, just things we can match with beers using local ingredients. But for me also, when I'm drinking the beer here, I can remember like sitting in Berlin drinking, and that's why the food's inspired by that. Trying to get those like homey, sort of warm. I don't want you to come in and feel uptight here. We want you to relax, put your shoulders down, eat some hearty comfort food, drink some good beer. That's kind of the idea behind that menu.
Nice. Do you have a favourite dish? I suppose they're all your favourite children when you put dishes on the menu. What's the one that has the most vibe for you at the moment?
I mean, we've got a local barra coming from near Werribee at the moment, and it's incredible. Beautiful fish. So fish on the menu is always probably my favourite. But I can't get away from a classic schnitzel. Yeah. I love a classic schnitzel and mash and a beer. Can't break it.
Can you go wrong? Can a chef go wrong with a schnitzel, with a classic dish like that?
Yeah, I don't think wrong. Probably not. but there's a difference between a good one and a bad one.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you go some places at the moment, it's $28, $30 for a schnitzel, and it's just a schnitzel. I kind of want to try and impact as much flavour as possible. Like we're talking about brining, you know, we brine for 48 hours.
Wow.
We've got like heaps of botanicals going through there, just to try and make it a little bit better. I don't want it to be just a schnitzel. I want it to be the Molly Rose schnitzel. So for me, with the sauerkraut, a little champ mash, chive mash, and a pepper sauce, perfect. Can't go wrong.
And if you're not a meat eater, do you have things on the menu for those vegetarians?
We got one thing we do, which we get a lot of good feedback on, is we do a kohlrabi parma. So we peel kohlrabi, slice it again with a brine, steam it in the brine, then breadcrumb it in gluten-free breadcrumbs, and then gremolata, mozzarella cheese, and fresh nap on top. You look at it and you go, it's chicken parma. Actually, it's a nice thick piece of kohlrabi, nice and peppery. Got the brine going through there as well, so nice seasoned. Gremolata on top. It's a really good dish, I think, for the vegetarians and vegans because it's not one you see everywhere. It's just a little bit different.
You hardly ever see that vegetable, which is good.
Kohlrabi's great.
It is, yeah.
It's an awesome ingredient. I don't think it's used enough, I agree. It's just, I think as well, I find my partner is vegetarian, and we often go out and say we do a taster, or even if we go a la carte, the dishes always look completely different. One looks like it's got care, one looks like it doesn't. So one thing I really wanted to try and push for was I want the vegetarian dish to almost look better than the meat dish, or as good. I don't want, because often you always compare to the person next to you, you know, and I don't want anyone to think that one looks better than mine. So we put so much effort into making the vegetarian dishes really, really good. We've also got a rigatoni alla norma on, nice old school Italian dish. We've got those two. They're pretty good. We actually sell more of the kohlrabi parma than we do a lot of the meat dishes a lot of the time.
Wow, it's because north side.
I think people just haven't seen it.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And it's delicious, and what a nice alternative. And what about if people just want some snacks? What are your snack foods?
School prawns are our big ones at the moment. I love school prawns, one of my favourites. So we've got like a really nice salty school prawn and like wakame salt. Really good for beer. Most of our sort of snack food is tailored to be put on the table and drank with. Black pudding sausage rolls with that English influence.
Oh, okay.
They go down really, really well, which I was a little bit, well, I put it on the menu and I was like, I don't know how black pudding's going to go. You know, Aussies seem to either love it or hate it. I can't stop making them. We were always selling out. I'm having to make them again every day. Just put some in the oven. That's surprised me. Saganaki, good old classic. Again, little things. We're also doing like, for after the kitchen closes, we've got like a toasty range. So we make fresh toasties every night. And again, beer drinkers that are coming in late, they just want a snack and a beer. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It seems to go well.
Do people tend to have dessert here?
Something we've been trying to push. It's not really.
No, I don't reckon if you're drinking beer, you have dessert.
So we've got on a stout molasses chocolate fondant. And the idea behind that was to try and use our beers, because I'm the same. When I'm drinking beer, I don't normally have sweets. How can we try and tap into that? We use the beer in the dessert. So it's a very sort of earthy, stout, chocolatey flavour. There's not a lot of sugar in it. Very heavy, very dark. Goes really nice with like a dark ale or a stout. And that's doing pretty well. We tried to do a sticky toffee. Didn't work. No one wanted it. Again, it's just too sweet. Cheese is our biggest sort of after meal.
Yeah, right.
Cheese board and a nice beer.
That's fascinating, but probably does fit with what I was thinking for sure. So when you're trying to distill a menu, so this is your first menu?
Yeah, first pub full menu,
Yeah, but the first one here. How do you decide, because maybe you've got lots of ideas, how do you distill that down to the menu you're going to run with for a few months?
Trial and error, normally. I'm more, a lot of people sort of write lots of dishes and then narrow it down in their heads. I struggle with that because I write all these dishes down and I go, I want all of them.
Yes.
So my best thing is I just cook all of them, put them all out on the table, get people to taste them, mainly the front of house
Yeah.
and the other chefs. Narrow it down to say the top 15, and then look at that in terms of balance. So I've got 15 dishes I like, all for mains. I can only have 6. So, okay, well, pick that one. Well, we've got a deep fried thing, so let's get rid of all the other deep fried things. Right, now we need something fresh pan fried. Okay, so we'll pull that one in. That's the way I try and balance it. Don't want anything to be too carb heavy, like the whole menu. Don't want it to be too brown. So we're trying to and occasionally if we do the menu, we finish it, we look at it, and after a few days, we're like, maybe that doesn't actually fit. Okay, let's pull that off. Let's do some other tasters as special, see what sells well. Okay, let's move that onto the menu.
And so then when it comes time to thinking of the next menu, is it seasonal for you? Or, yeah.
Sure.
And I guess it's potentially a neighbourhood place, so there's probably going to be favourites that have to stay on, like the schnitzel or whatever. Are you trying some of those out through specials?
Yeah, so I start working probably about 2 months before a menu change. Carry around a notebook when I'm working, and just most of what I'm thinking I just write down, look at that at the end of the week and go, okay, let's try that next week, see how that works. But also I think in the pub setting, I don't want to be changing it too regularly because, like you say, we've got locals, we've got people that are coming in expecting something. So maybe it will be, instead of doing a full menu change every 3 or 4 months, we'll do one dish change every so often and just start slowly doing it, pulling things apart. Okay, this is coming to the end of the season. Let's for now just change the veg on that. So when kohlrabi goes out, I've already planned to go to celeriac for the parma, so that will be in motion. Just trying to tweak things a little bit without completely wiping it and starting again. I think in a lot of restaurants that works really well, just completely scrapping the menu and starting fresh. Don't think in a place like Molly Rose, where we have our core beer range and we incorporate a lot of our beer and cooking, I don't think it's the best idea to just scrap it because people want occasionally to come in for the same thing. For our schnitzel is a great example. There's nothing on that isn't seasonal. So that one can stay on all year round, and then it gives me an opportunity to play with the other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we spoke before about it's a real team mentality here, which is fantastic. And you've learned some lessons about leading in the past, maybe what not to do. What's your style then? Because you still are a leader in the kitchen, so and you have to get across what your ideas are for the food and consistency and all those things. How do you approach that leadership role?
I think, like you're saying, taking things from the past is really important. I've learned how I don't want to be treated in the kitchen. So I like to think I'm very fair as a head chef in the kitchen. I don't want my chefs to not be able to tell me that something's wrong in terms of prep or cooking or service, because then it causes more issues. I've learned that in the past. People are too scared to say anything and therefore they won't. And then you find out about it 2 hours later and it ruins the whole service. So I like to think, especially with the chefs I've got, they're all very mature, very good chefs. It's kind of more of like a friendship mentality, but at the same time keeping with that sort of self-respect and respecting each other. And as long as we're all just trying, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
So even if you do make a mistake, as long as you try, then I don't mind. We're humans at the end of the day. We're going to make mistakes. So there's no point in getting upset about it. And I think that's kind of rubbed off quite well in this kitchen. And I think when you do that, you actually notice less mistakes when people are on edge. Worked in kitchens where people are constantly scared and they always make mistakes. The moment the head chef isn't there, they're awesome. They're great. They're cracking food out. So I think that kind of taught me that if you just let people do their job, then they'll do it. And that's how we try and do things here. I think it's the same for front of house here as well.
Yeah, that's great. And food costs is such a big thing these days, and you don't necessarily, well, there might be a bit of that in when you're studying and learning and so on, but how do you, suddenly when you're head chef, it's all on you, and there's got to be a profit and you want to use really good quality ingredients. How do you marry the two?
I was very, very lucky when I took over this job that some good friends, the head chef at the European, have kind of supported me with that side of things. Lots of really good advice, not sticking to one supplier, moving around suppliers, comparing suppliers, but also looking around you, seeing, okay, what are people using? There must be a reason why they're using that. Let me look into that. And then you notice patterns. And I do think food cost is, especially, we're in a quieter time of the year at the moment, so it's really hard for a lot of kitchens to keep their food cost low. It's a lot easier with a busy menu to get good food cost. So it's just about, for me in this kitchen, it's minimum ordering, sort of trying to do little and often as opposed to prepping for a week, and keeping your wastage down. That's the only way we can do it. So far, it's been nice and steady here, especially with the menu change, which we were quite happy with. Food prices are just every day. I had the oil man in this morning. He told me my oil was going to go up by 10 cents a litre. Doesn't sound like a lot, but over a period of a year, it's thousands.
Yeah, of course.
So then you have to then add that into your budget. Okay, well, can we push this fryer for an extra half a day here? Because that would bring the food cost down. No, but that's going to affect the food, so maybe we don't. Maybe instead we look at a different supplier. Okay, it's only 5 cents more expensive, so that works out better. It's just constantly on the phone to suppliers and talking around, and I'm quite lucky. I've been set up by chef friends with heaps of spreadsheets. Every day I spend 20 minutes filling out spreadsheets, and it tells me, okay, you're spending too much on this, you need to pull this one back, blah, blah, blah. It's only going to get harder, especially in Melbourne. I don't think everyone's a bit nervous about it for the future, compared to when I was a young chef, and it was almost not really thought about.
Yeah.
As long as your menu's selling, you're probably going to make money. It's not the case anymore.
No.
And with using really nice ingredients, we were looking at beef prices when I was picking what beef to put on this menu. And okay, we could use a really, 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 really nice beef. But I'm going to have to put it on the menu for $110 for a 300 gram steak. It's just never going to sell, right? So some things you have to go, right, okay, maybe we use a slightly lower quality but still really nice piece of beef, and we just try and give it a cheaper price that's more affordable for everybody. And that's, I think, the best way to do it. Some things like our fish, we're using really good quality fish. But that comes local, so it's not too expensive.
Yeah.
It's just picking and choosing what's around you. We had to stop using octopus because octopus got too expensive.
Oh, wow.
And especially in Australia, especially fish, compared to, we can buy Chinese Chinese fished octopus from Portugal for a quarter of the price I can buy WA octopus for. I just don't want to do it.
No.
It just doesn't look nice on a menu, and I don't think you're as proud of it when it's been on a plane longer than I have.
No, that's
or
right.
on a boat longer than I have.
That's right.
It just puts me off. So I'd rather just use local, try and keep it as low as possible. You just got to watch out for the red flags. You could quite easily order a cheese thinking it's a really good quality cheese, but if it's really, really expensive, it's going to ruin your whole wage cost for your whole kitchen cost for the week.
Yeah.
Just balancing. I think that's the best way I can describe it. It is a struggle, but it's also really good at the end of the month when you see that number and it's where you want it to be. It's the best feeling.
Yeah.
Right? It feels so good.
Well, I guess it's a game, isn't it?
Yeah.
The gamification of the kitchen numbers, that's right.
Yeah.
And just to finish with, Sam, with all that in mind and your experience and where you are today, what would your advice be to a young person starting out as a chef?
Be a sponge. Just listen to everything. There's a million ways to skin a cat, and then one chef's going to do something different to you. That doesn't mean it's wrong. Just watch it, listen. Why are you doing that? Ask questions. I think that's all you can do. Knowledge is cooking, right? The more you know, the better you can cook. So just listen, take it all in. I'm still learning today, so I probably will be until I'm 70. I'll still be in the kitchen, but I'll still be learning as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Sam Field at Molly Rose Brewing in Collingwood. You can check out all the goodness on Instagram at Molly Rose Brewing. That's MOLLYROSE Brewing. And if you'd like to hear more stories from other chefs, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef. You can read this chat online at www.conversationwithchef.com. And of course, you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. I would absolutely love it if you told a friend about my chats. I still think it's the best way to get these delicious stories out into the world. Once again, thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and bon appetit.